right, guys, welcome to Pest Control Millionaire. I think we're on episode 65 already, so we're rolling right along. This is just a podcast where we teach you a bunch of strategies of how you can be successful and create millions of dollars for yourself. The podcast is not about me. It is all about you guys. Today, we have a super awesome guest. He is a stud of all studs. I met Moe 2019, 20, somewhere right in there. We're at a door-to-door event. And I remember a quick story. I remember we were on our way home. We left Utah and went to LAX in the flight. That's when they wanted us to all wear masks for like almost the first, second time. It just didn't sell well with your group. But we had a great time. Mo was a stud, like I said. And I'm just going to introduce him real quick. So today's guest is Moe Falah. He actually has the 44th fastest growing company in the country from Inc. 5000. That was 2023, I believe, roughly 22. So 2022. So you only beat me by like 3,000. Close. The first year in business, Mo did 28.5 million in revenue. So like I'm telling you, this dude crushed it. He crushed it. And Mo, what are you, 29, 30?
Yeah, I just turned 29.
Just turned 29. Pretty good guess. And I just want to welcome you to the show, man. And I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us today. And I'm just really happy that you're here.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Jonas, for having me.
Yeah, I know I think we've been trying to do this for a couple of months now.
Yeah, probably like going on like 6 months.
Yeah.
But we're here, and that's all that matters.
I was like, who could I reach out to in my network that has done massive things? Like, this is day one. And I was like, wow, Mo's definitely on top of my list. So I've been at Mo for like I said, 6 months probably, trying to recruit him and get him on the podcast, and finally got him here. Super excited that you're here. But real quick, Mo, why don't you just tell us, how you got into the industry to begin with, into solar, and just kind of tell us a little bit of your background, and we'll get started from there.
Yeah, so I've always been money driven. Like I've always been like looking for the thing where like where can I find a play? Where can I find the best play? I never wanted I never had a dream job. It was always like I want to be rich and successful. Like that's it. Like I wanted it all, and I believed that I could have it all. So it was always like I always kept my mind open for like what's that opportunity. And I've been in sales for now, like legit sales, probably. And when I say legit sales, it's like knowing that you're actually a salesman, right? Because a lot of people are salespeople, but they don't know that they're salespeople. But like once I actually understood that, like, oh, look, I'm a legit salesperson. I've probably been at it now probably about 14 years. And before I got into solar was probably about 8 years. Yeah, about 9 years before I actually got into solar. And it was always just trying to find the thing. Like, what's that thing that makes the most sense? What's the best play? What's the best offer? What's the thing that is hard to say no to, easy to say yes to, ability to sell and get other people to sell? And so I tried a bunch of different industries, and I landed on solar in late 2018. Once I landed in solar, it was just like light bulb moment. It was like home run. It was like this thing, solar makes so much sense. It'd be silly for people to not go solar. And the idea that went through my head is I'm going to sell everybody. And that was just a big light bulb moment. I got started in late 2018. I moved to Cali about a month later. I was living here in Miami, but the area wasn't great for solar. And I knew that team building was something that I wanted to do. But the install timelines in the southern Florida were like 4 to 6 months. And so that means people would have to wait 4 to 6 months to get paid, which is just not ideal when it comes to really wanting to build a team. People need cash flow to survive, and to be able to go 4 to 6 months without getting paid, like with 78% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, it's not going to work. So I moved to California, got started there. One year later, I started Simple Solar. And then, just really ran with it hard.
Cool. For that first year before we started Simple Solar, were you working for someone else?
Yeah. So I had it's called a sub dealer. So it was a dealer organization, and they had resources for sales training, support, all that stuff. And they were connected with an installation company. So I basically became a sub dealer, and I worked under a sub dealer for the first year, and I definitely learned a lot. But there were things that were missing that I felt like I could do better. And I didn't think that the company was all for the people. I felt the company was more for the company. And so I believe that the only way to grow an organization is like if you create the best opportunity for salespeople, they'll create the best play for the homeowners, which will ultimately allow you to be able to scale your organization. So I just wanted to create something that was more sales rep driven than company driven. And that just naturally attracted a ton of people to come into the industry.
For sure. So I'm going to rewind a little bit and then we'll come back to this. If you and I are sophomores, freshmen in high school, who is Moe?
Pothead. That's the first thing that comes to my head. Pothead really was like right around the wrong crowds, was not surrounded by the right groups. Didn't have like really a great work ethic. Always found ways to cut corners, always found ways to get things done faster. Never did my homework, never did anything, but still managed to get A's and B's because like I just thought everything was easy. So I was able just to learn really quickly. Partier, partied a crap ton, drinking, doing drugs. What else? What else is Mo? Hustler. Anything I could get my hands on to sell, I would sell. I'd always try and find ways to make money. I was a thief. I would like steal. I'd steal from people, steal from organizations. Would just not do anything ethically to be able to get by. So a very, very different person than who I evolved into and developed to become.
And so like, what kind of family were you raised in and what did your parents do?
Super conservative family. My father was an academic. He was a professor. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. And so not necessarily like a lot of entrepreneurship from them. I had two older brothers that were very entrepreneurial, but they didn't really start their businesses until later in their life. And so I remember when I was in the second grade, this is probably a big impact for me. And I didn't realize it at the time.
This is what I'm digging for.
Yeah. So I was in the second grade and there was this like assignment where like you had to go and figure out what you wanted to be when you grew up or what you wanted to do. And I went home and I asked my brother, one of my brothers, I was like, hey, I've got this assignment. I got to go and say like what I got to be. So he told me two different things and I just took them. And one of them was a cardiovascular brain surgeon, which I had no idea what that was, but it was the coolest sounding answer. So that was one of them. And the other one was entrepreneur. And I had no idea what an entrepreneur was. And when he told me what an entrepreneur was, his response was, it was somebody that owns hotels. That's what his answer was to what an entrepreneur was, which is, it's a form of entrepreneurship, I guess, right? Like, but it's not really what an entrepreneur is. But from 7 years old, I had this word implanted in my head. And I guess that implant probably ended up just pulling a lot of things that came up as I grew into my adolescence, where entrepreneurship just started to come my way because you're very impressionable at a young age. And those things that get implanted in your mind, they will stick with you unless you can find a way to pull them. So a lot of people who have negative traumas, those things stick with people, especially at really young ages until you pull those away. For me, luckily, I got gifted with the word entrepreneurship, and that's something that got implanted with me where I was able to then pull in different opportunities as I continue to grow up. Yeah.
So you grow up, you want to be an entrepreneur, then you get into the high school days, you get around the wrong people. I started doing drugs, started drinking a lot. And then at what point did you break that cycle and how did you do it?
I was 19 years old and I got held at gunpoint, for this marijuana associated thing. And I got held at gunpoint and I got robbed for like 15 grand. And, I thought my life, I didn't think my life was in the hands of somebody else. And it was a moment where it was the only moment in my life where I felt like I didn't have control. And so that was like a very, very like dark feeling. So a couple of weeks later, I ended up buying my first real estate property. And I said, I need to start protecting myself. I need to start playing safer. When I got licensed in real estate, started selling real estate, started flipping cars, working at a hookah bar, working late nights, doing everything I could just to make money. Ended up flipping that house and the one that I purchased. went to Toronto, and then I got like really, really into direct sales because I had a mentor, and he said that the only way to get rich in life is through sales. The only way. He said the only way to get rich in life is through sales. And then later on, a few years later, same mentor told me the only way to build wealth in life is to build teams. So that, like, when he was recruiting me to sell, that was his first thing, was sales. And then years later, it turned into building teams because I proved myself as a salesperson.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, Patrick Bet-David, which obviously, he says that there's 3 qualities that successful people have that are ultra successful. One is they have experienced pain from someone that they love. I'm sure you've heard this before, right?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so they've experienced pain from someone that they love. They've experienced unconditional love from at least one person in their life, whether that's your mom, whether that's a girlfriend or wife, and they experience a ton of pain from that same person that they loved. And the next one is they chose their enemies wisely. So with those 3 things being said, were you loved by someone unconditionally and saying, like, no matter what you did, like, that person was just always there for you?
Yeah. So for that, that'd be my mother. So my mother,
same here.
Yeah. I'd say like the hurt, I'd say the hurt was probably like my father. There were like a couple moments when my parents split up. It was there were definitely some dark moments in that, and so I'd say my father was like the alternative. And then choosing my enemy actually was my brother. It was the brother that told me about the entrepreneurship. As I grew up into my early 20s, he started to become an enemy in my eyes, and there was a lot of things that I did to prove him wrong, and to show him that what his thinking was not valid, and just to invalidate what he thought was possible.
So he told you basically that you couldn't do something that you wanted to go do?
Yeah, I said, I remember one time we were in Toronto. I'm born in Toronto, so our family was living in Toronto, and I told him that I don't remember what I said. I said that it was something along the lines of that I wanted to have a net worth of 50 million, and I said, like, by some time frames I want to have a net worth 50 million, and he literally says that that's not possible. That's not possible. You're not going to do that. You're not going to be able to. You don't have the experience. You don't have. It's a lot of like, you can't, you don't, you won't, and that pissed me off because I was like, why the fuck can't I? Like, I believe that humans are capable of doing whatever they truly want and desire and are intentional about and want to create and are committed to. I believe that we can actually create whatever the hell we want to create. And so that was like a starting point of me starting to make him an enemy. But now I don't have an enemy, which, like, it could be great to pick up an enemy as I start to get into my next venture.
We'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Super excited what you got going on. So now let's fast forward back to work. So now I kind of find out who Moe is, like where all this competition stems from, like what you went through as a child. So, okay, so you're in year 1, you launched Simple Solar. You had this guy say, hey, you got to go build a team. So that's probably about the time that I met you, maybe a year later. You were just coming up. How many people did you have in your first year? How did you recruit them, or where did you find them? And, those first 3 to 5 guys are super important to your team. Like, those are your guys that are going to go all in. They're going to knock side by side with you. They're going to grind it out. They'll go through a wall with you. So how did you find those first 3, 4, 5 core guys?
So first couple guys actually met through high school, and then one of them was like a college party. Another person I met at Door-to-Door Con. And then another person I met through an Instagram ad. I put up an Instagram ad for like $25. When I first got there, I was just recruiting people. Still had no experience in solar. Didn't know what I was doing, but I had a vision that this was going to work. And so I was able to convey that belief through a $25 Instagram ad, and ended up getting who became like my number 2, my rock star, my top producer.
Is this Donnie Bucks?
That's Donnie Bucks.
Nice. You got him off an Instagram ad?
Yeah, $25. I got Donnie Bucks.
Unreal.
Yeah, it's better ROI than Bitcoin.
I guess. That's wild. I did not know that.
Yeah. That's how I got Donnie. And it just so happened to be he got in an argument with his dad that same day, who he was working for, and so like timing was just perfect.
Wow, that's incredible. Because like he's a stud in himself.
Yeah, for sure. So that's how I got the first core. And then we set the vision of what we wanted to do. We set the target of doing 25 million in sales in the first year. And we laid out a roadmap. Like we said, okay, how do we do it? How many accounts do we need? Well, this is how many people that we need. Well, obviously we can't get to that many people in the first month, but if we can get to this many people by June, that'll allow us to get to this many people by August, which will allow us to get this many people by October. And so like we laid out like the certain timeframes throughout the year in which we needed to have the certain amount of people to be able to hit our targets. So we laid out when we needed the certain people within certain months so that we can hit our targets, because we knew that we can get each person to produce X number of sales per month. So we literally, so we just mapped out what that year had to look like. And it was like, no matter what, we had to get these many people. And so it was outreach, everybody, outreach, consistent outreach to ensure that we were able to get this right number of people in so that we can hit our goals and hit our targets.
Love that. So where did you end? I know 28 million, but how many reps did you have your first year?
So in December, we ended the year with 35 people.
That's awesome. I mean, that's incredible. First year.
Yeah. And then that was December. And then January 4th or January 7th or something like that was like the first wave of new recruits. So we're not selling from December 15th to January. I think we took 3 weeks off. So yeah, it was around January 10th. So we stopped selling December 15th, and then we started season again around January 10th.
Is that just because of the holidays that way?
Yeah, we're hustling all year. So we've always done like an extended vacation an extended vacation. It was anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. Just like, hey, you made a bunch of money, like cool off now, go enjoy, spend it with the family, go travel, go to this, and then get ready for a hard 11 months. That was our idea. So we ended with 35, and then when we started the following year, we started the first wave with a total of 60 people. So we went from 35 to 60 people within 30 days when we weren't even selling, because everybody was having a great time and we're posting everything on social media. We did a company event. We went to St. Thomas, the Virgin Islands. We hit certain targets. So we took a whole group of people there. We promoted everything on social. Everybody was loving it. And people were like, hey, we want to be a part of this thing too. And so by the time the next wave came, we added another 25 people to the company. And
so do you think a lot of them came out from personal touches, like friends recruiting friends? Yeah, that was the first one. Like, did you guys ever have to do like career fairs or anything like that? Or do you just strictly outreach, post on social media?
No, aside from that $25 that I spent on getting Donnie bucks, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't say 100%, probably about 90%, 95% of the people that ever ended up in our organization came through personal recruits. Probably 95% came through personal recruits and social media.
And so for a lot of people that don't know this space, when you onboard 35 people, it's a lot of work. How were you able to make sure that each guys came through the pipeline and were successful?
I mean, you just have to have the right systems in place. That's like we have policy that says when a person comes in on day one, this is what it looks like. And then you have pre-day one, right? You have onboarding, you've got you have the first interview, how it gets on, what's the stages that it goes through. And each person on the administrative team has a specific role. And then administrative team needs to be working with the sales team, sales manager specifically, to be able to coordinate the interviews and coordinate the communication so that you can have a clean onboarding process. When you have the systems in place and everybody follows the systems, everything is smooth.
For sure. And then how long after a new rep comes in, do you say that they'll typically get their first deal?
We were targeting for a new rep to get their first deal within 11 days. We typically shot for 11 days, where it's like they get their first solo deal, like by themselves without somebody knocking with them. So from day one start to day 11, typically they'd have their first deal.
And now are you guys running like the setter closer model? Is that what you guys are running? So you have your newer guys running leads, I assuming, get appointments?
Yeah, and not everybody transitions to a closer. So we've had people that stayed with our company for years, and they stayed a setter. It's just their better skill set.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. You need both, right?
No, of course not. It's two totally different skills. And we've had setters that make more money than closers.
Really?
Absolutely. Closing, I think, is like overhyped. A closer can only sit in, I don't say only. For the most part, it's really difficult for a closer to sit in like 4 or 5 homes a day. It's every single day. It's difficult. But a good setter can book like 10 plus appointments a day. So if that person can just book 10 plus appointments a day, just give it to closers. Like if 4 of those close every single day, like that person's closing more deals than one single closer is.
Yeah, totally makes sense to me. I just never really thought about it. So your second year, like first year you had 35. Where did you end your second year at?
And 62 million.
Wow, that's incredible. And then how many reps did you have then?
So we had at our peak, we had about 105. And then in September of 2021, we lost about 45 people all at once. We had somebody that was inside the company who I knew I knew this person wasn't a good fit, but I had an emotional attachment. We went to high school together. We've known each other for a long time. We just had a lot of struggle together. And I didn't have the leadership in me at the time to be able to separate emotion and business. And so I knew this person wasn't a good fit, but I allowed them to continue to stay in the organization. And so, that ended up hurting. That person left and went and started off his own organization.
Yeah. And then he took 45, basically half of your team with him.
Yeah, he took about 45 people. And then at that time, we ended up cutting another 20 people. Because we were like, while we've had this many people leave the organization, let's use this time to continue cleaning up. Let's clean up and make sure that everybody that's with us is like all in. And it's because we did one-on-one mentorship with Grant Cardone. And so I called Grant after this happened because I've never experienced like a loss like that in business before. And he's like, hey man, you got to be willing to get down to 4 people if it means that you got the right people. And so we basically did that. We cut another 20 people and we got down to 40 people. But we knew that the 40 that we had were like great people. And we knew that they were all in with the company. We knew that they wanted growth. And we really played it off as like, this is a really great opportunity. There's so much room for promotion at this point. Now you guys get to be the next incoming leaders. We're going to rebuild this thing better. We know what we did wrong. We know what we need to do differently. This just freed up more money that we're now able to continue to invest in you guys, because instead of it going to a bunch of people who are collecting, all these different spreads, you guys are able to now earn that money that they were once earning. And we use it we really use it as a positive experience. And then we jumped up within 3 months, we were back up to like 100 plus people. So like we blew it up at that point.
Yeah. And then how many different markets were you in then?
At that point, we were in 3 different markets. We were in Tampa, Houston, and Los Angeles. Yeah.
And then I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but is 2022 your last year, or is 23 your last year?
When you say last year, you're talking about when I sold?
Yeah, when you sold.
We sold the company in October of 22.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So how did that all come about? And I'll preface that with saying, has there ever been a sales organization that's ever been acquired before?
There has been. However, they weren't paid in cash. They were paid in stock, and that stock never manifested into money.
Really?
Yeah. There's one other organization that I know of, and they got acquired for stock, but the stock never manifested. And then that company's stock value dropped significantly. So they couldn't trade it. They couldn't sell it. They were stuck in this vesting period. So it never manifested into anything. And then that sales company basically kind of went away.
Gotcha. So how did the acquisition come about?
I was sitting at a conference in Escondido, California, and there was this guy on stage that was, he was talking about, he was a business broker, and he was talking about, buying and selling companies, the benefits of it, how it helps the founders, all this stuff. And I just had this cognition, said, it's time to sell simple. That's all that happened. Thought came in my head, it's time to sell simple. And I'm somebody who I really guide myself based on intuition. Like if intuition tells me something, if these thoughts come into my mind, most of the time my thoughts are positive thoughts. And so I just follow them. Like if they're positive thoughts, I just follow them. If they're negative thoughts, I'm just like, fuck that thought. I don't believe in that. But if it's positive thought, I'm like, let's roll with it. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's roll with this. And I just had that cognition. And I just, okay, time to sell simple. And then I just started the process of getting that rolling.
Did you hire that guy that was speaking?
No. He gave me inspo.
Gotcha. And then did you go hire someone to sell simple, or did you just go to the market for yourself and see what was out there?
I work with a virtual family office. And so they basically help manage my life. I reached out to them and I said, hey, I want to sell simple. And they connected me with several different bankers. I pitched simple. I probably had at least 10 different interviews where I would just pitch simple to them. And every single person except for one person said no, and one person said, I think I got somebody that would be interested in what you got. And then he got me on a call with that person a couple of days later, and then 7 months later we closed.
Oh, that's incredible. Now, is Simple still rolling?
Simple currently is not rolling. No.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not rolling anymore.
Why do you think that is?
I think that there was a lot of misalignment between the new organization that came in and what Simple's culture was before as a sales organization. Switching it to an installation organization, along with a lot of different changes in the company. There was a new executive team that came in, and they didn't come from the solar industry, and they came from corporate. There's nothing wrong with people coming from corporate, but a sales organization has a certain culture to it, and you have to really be able to play with the culture, because the sales organization, your sales reps are your business. They're your entire business. And if things start getting taken away from that business, then those are assets that may no longer want to continue to produce for you. And so there was a lot of switch up when it came to the acquisition that just wasn't as much in favor for the sales organization.
Right on. So did you ever think about getting into the install side, or just stay away from it as much as possible?
So the whole business plan was to build the installation company, and then from there go ahead and increase the valuation, because it's now we run sales and we run installs. The thing is it requires a significant amount of capital to be able to do that. I think it was underestimated how much was actually needed, and it was the same time when, I'm not sure if you heard of this company MC Solar, but MC Solar went out of business, and we had about $600,000 that was just sitting there. That was supposed to be paid to us, and that all went to zero. So there was just an underestimation of how much was needed, underestimation of the effort to actually start an installation company. There was some lack of experience in being able to do it on the residential solar side, and then it was also taking an unexpected loss while we were planning the build out of this company. Yeah,
I guess that happened. Like I said, so you had $600,000 owed to you that just went away because they went out of business. How do you overcome something like that?
Well, the right way that you overcome it, in my perspective, and it wasn't fully executed on, was that we continue to pay the salespeople, but we create a strategy that pays them over time. Like, we as a company would have, I just don't think that the salesperson should take the full loss on that. I believe that it's the responsibility of the person who signs with the installation company, which was our organization. I believe that we should have taken the loss, but we should have worked in collaboration with the sales organization to extend that loss over a long period of time so that we don't just get hit right away. And that wasn't, that's how I believe that a loss like that should get handled, right? Like, rather than not handling it all, or handling it too late, or paying everybody up front and then you just taking a severe, $600,000 cut. It's easier to spread out a $600,000 cut over a year, but continue to ensure that your people get paid, because your people are your assets. And if you don't take care of your assets, they're going to stop producing for the business.
So, I mean, they've already sold this work, obviously, and now the installs didn't get done. And so they didn't get paid out on their installs.
No, these installs were done, and we still didn't, and we didn't get paid for the installer. Yeah, these installs were done.
So that company just burned through their cash, and
yeah, there was a lot of fraud that was going on in that business, and there's a lot of fraud, a lot of embezzlement. There was a lot of issues that were going on with that organization that, not many people really knew about.
Right on. If you could go back and start all over again, what are a few things that you would do different? In that company, not now, just in general. Like, what can you learn? What can you teach us?
I would trust in partners more. I would probably hire people that were smarter than me sooner. I would give more people control and access and ability to run in their lane, in their zone of genius. I think I'd probably just have more trust in people. I would interview more people before hiring. Yeah, those are some really big things, right? Like, I think I hired a lot of people just because there was affinity there, not necessarily because they were the best person for the company. And sometimes the best person for the company is somebody who you don't share the same personality, and you guys are totally different. That's probably sometimes the best person for the company, but that person sometimes can be really hard to hire because, you know, we want to hire people that we're like so close with, buddies with. And that was a mistake of mine. Was like, if I didn't feel like our personalities meshed, then it was like,
not going to be a good fit.
Yeah, but that's just ignorance on my part.
Yeah. Did you have 100% equity of Simple Solar, or did you have partners?
I had 100% equity of Simple Solar.
So going back, would you have given up a little bit of equity to hire the best people?
1,000%. Yeah, that's something that I learned is I had this misconception about equity because I just heard so many people say, "Don't give up equity, don't give up equity." But like equity doesn't really matter. What matters more is having a really, really incredible team to drive that equity value up.
Solid. That's solid right there. Fire. And then what did you learn through the whole acquisition? Like, I'm sure you learned a ton through the process, but what are some really good tips you can talk us through that?
I'd say a really good thing is ensuring that you get your team involved with it. Like we got our team involved with the acquisition, right? Like it wasn't something that was kept hidden. It was something that we were open about. We didn't go and share with the entire company, but we brought our key leaders involved. We got them to meet the new partners. We got them to meet everybody. We flew everybody out to Arizona. We gave them a good experience. So we got them involved and got them excited about it, which was a really good thing. Like it increased the morale significantly and it further spread the vision. That's one thing. Next thing I would say is make sure that you have a team that can support you with it, because it's hard. It's not easy to go through an acquisition, and it's grueling. It's ugly. They lift up the hood of your vehicle and they look at every single part. There is nothing that you can hide. Every bad thing gets exposed, and it's ugly. Like it's ugly when you go in there. So I would say keep everything as clean as possible in your business. Keep all your books in order. Keep all your data in order. Keep the money in order. Don't be spending your money on stupid stuff, because they'll look at it. They're going to see the P&Ls and they're going to see what you're spending your money on. So keep it clean. Keep it organized. Don't do something that could jeopardize your reputation or jeopardize who you are. So I would say that those are the main things that I would say, and ensure that you have people that are going to help you with it. Like I had 4 different people that were helping me with the exit. And that was from compiling information, compiling data, going through our records, going through our contract, legal, tax, accounting. But I couldn't have done it all by myself. I needed a whole entire team with me to help support that.
Would you have done anything different going through that again? And would you have done it?
I would have done it. Yeah, I would have done it for sure. It was, looking at it now, I would have done some things differently, right? Like there were some signs that I knew were a little bit off, and I thought they were off, but I went ahead and thought that, well, it's probably just due to my inexperience that I think it's off. And these are individuals that are 20 to 30 years my senior, having so much more experience than myself, running companies much bigger than my company, sold multiple businesses. So I went ahead and said, yeah, this seems off, but they have more experience than I do, so maybe it's right. And I just went ahead and let that continue going by. So I think the big thing is I would have done it again, but I would have trusted myself more. And when there was something that seemed off, I would have actually brought it up right away, rather than just letting it go by and thinking that other people may know better than you. Because just because someone's older than you and because someone has a degree doesn't mean that they're smarter than you. Doesn't mean that they know what they're doing. The people who know what they're doing are the people who have gone through it before. Those are the people who know it. It's not necessarily like, the degree that you have. It's what you know. And the people who really know are the people who have gone through it.
So was this a PE firm, or was it?
Yeah, it was basically a PE firm, PE-like vehicle that formed a special purpose vehicle where they raised money from investors.
So their ROI wasn't so great because it shut down a year later. Right. Have you heard from them ever since then? Have you talked to them? Nothing?
No, nothing. I stayed in the company for another 8 months and then I resigned.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I stayed in the company for 10 months.
Was that part of the deal?
It wasn't part of the deal, but actually it was part of the deal. It was part of the deal, and I wanted to stay. Like I wanted to grow the company value. Like I didn't sell 100% of the company. I sold 60% of the company. So I still had a stake in the parent company, which we were going to further grow into a much larger valuation.
and then it never happened. So you never got your other 40%.
Hmm.
I'm gonna switch gears a little bit because I know we're going to run out of time, and I got a lot to talk about. I got a lot going on these days, but one of the biggest things that stands out to me over the last 2-3 years, Mo, is one, your mindset, and two, you really changed your health. Like you've been hitting the gym consistently, which I met you probably you look great. But when I first met you, you still look good looking dude, but you weren't fit as you are now, for sure. You put a lot of emphasis on your mindset, put a lot of emphasis into yourself. Talk us through that. How important do you think mindset is?
Oh, I mean, dude, it's everything.
It is
totally everything. I mean, it's first of all, regarding the body, that's the house that you got to live in for the rest of your life. You know, you're living in this home for the rest of your life. For the next 100 years, this is the home that you occupy, right? Like if you were in your home, like not the body home, if you were in like your actual house and you looked at your surroundings and it looked like crap, excuse my language, it looked like shit, then you'd clean it, right? Like you wouldn't let mold grow in your home. If the sink is full, you'd go ahead and clean it up. You don't want to live in a gross environment. If the roof is leaking, like you're gonna call somebody to come and fix it. You're gonna actually do work so that you don't have to live in a shitty environment. But this body, we're gonna have to occupy this thing for the next 100 years. What do you want that thing to be? As clean as possible, as nice as possible, as beautiful as possible? Because like I don't know, man. Like I've been in positions where I haven't been in good health. And it doesn't matter how much money I have, I feel like shit about myself. And I don't want to feel like shit about myself anytime. And I also figure that like if you can conquer the body, it's so easy to conquer the mind. It's so easy to conquer the mind. But it's also the mindset. The mindset is also the thing that you have to live with for the rest of your life. Like if you're going to go through life, what kind of mindset do you want to have? You want to have a positive mindset? What kind of lens do you want to look at life at? That everything is going to go well or everything is going to go bad? Like even the idea of the pessimist, like I understand why in business, you need the optimist, you need the pessimist. I get that. But that's for business. If you're going to go through life, wouldn't you want to believe that things are good and things are going to happen for you and that things are positive? For myself, I would rather do that. And because even if I get a hiccup and I get hit or whatever, it doesn't mean that things are bad. It means that this is just an obstacle in the way, but I'm still going to maintain my positivity. That's going to push me to continue doing more. If I'm pessimistic, I'm going to give up.
Yeah.
If I'm pessimistic, I'm like, well, all this sucks. why am I even doing this? I'm going to give up. Like I'm all optimism. I'm all positive lens. I'm all responsibility. Like everything is your fault. You own it all. You can't blame anyone. Everything falls on your shoulders. And you're also capable of doing anything, and everything is easy. Like that's a mindset that I have, is everything is easy. Like I believe everything is easy because like tell me what do you think is easier? Do you think it's easier to be rich or do you think it's easier to be poor?
Easier to be rich, for sure.
Fuck yeah. But a lot of people go, oh, it's so hard to get rich. It's way harder not knowing how to pay your rent next month. That's way harder. It's way harder having bills due and then now you're collecting interest payments. That's way, way, way harder than being rich.
I agree with you 100%.
A lot of people have this thing confused, right? Like, what do you think is harder? Do you think it's harder to have a six-pack, or do you think it's harder to have diabetes?
It's definitely harder to have diabetes, but it takes more work to have abs.
Absolutely, but it's way, way harder to have diabetes. So getting fit is actually easy because the alternative fucking sucks. So it's like I have this weird belief that like I just like to re-identify what hard actually means. It's hard to have a flu. It's so hard to have the flu. It's way easier to be on a clean diet, walk every single day, get into the gym and eat clean. That's way easier than having the flu. Flu fucking is hard.
Yeah.
So just I have these frameworks where I redefine what hard really is. And that's why I think everything else is easy. That's why I think success is easy, because the alternative is fucking awful.
Yeah, that's so fire. What is Mo up to these days? I know you got a lot going on, but you have some stuff that's launching that looks pretty cool. So why don't you walk us through that?
So I have 3 different things that I'm working on right now. So one is Scale Solar. So Scale Solar is defined, it's set up into 3 different programs. We have Set Solar, Sell Solar, and Scale Solar. So it's 3 different programs. One is designed for new people coming into the industry as setters. Next one is closers. And the third one is managers or business owners. And that could be installation companies, dealers, anyone who runs a team inside of Scale. So that's a Scale solar program. It's focused around solar. Next one that we have is personal development. So it's general coaching on anything that's in my mind. It's not solar specific. It's business, it's mindset, it's health, it's relationships, it's growing yourself as an individual. So that's one program. And the third thing that we're working on is I'm actually launching a company in Medicare. So Medicare is a niche inside of life and health insurance, and that's going to be the primary focus of the business. But that's going to eventually evolve into an umbrella company that has all these different streams of revenue that are associated to it. But the primary focus is going to be Medicare.
Will you build a sales team again?
Oh, absolutely. The whole thing is going to get rebuilt like Simple, but better. Like way, way, way better than what Simple was built as. Because now I have reference points. Now I can look back at all the things I did wrong and all the things I did right, remove the wrong, add more of the right, and then get a great team on to help expand it.
Yeah. How much do you think your influence in the industry has been a part of your success as far as recruiting talent?
Well, influence is everything. Like John Maxwell says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Right? Like your ability to influence somebody else is your ability to lead them. If you're not influential, nobody's going to follow you. No one's going to listen to you.
Yeah, that again, fire. Who are the two most impactful people in your life?
Grant Cardone.
I could have told you that one.
Grant Cardone.
I mean, you had a similar story, right? Like most of us.
Yeah, I'd say Grant Cardone, and I would say, I think I'm pretty impactful for myself. I don't say that like in an egotistical way, but I say it in like, I'm really proud of myself for the things that I've been able to do and overcome and not accomplish because the accomplishments only came from how I worked on myself. And so me knowing that I can consistently recreate myself and push myself to the next level, it's really impacted my thinking and knowing that I can accomplish whatever I want. I think I've actually ended up having like a lot of impact on myself because I've proven myself wrong in the things that I didn't believe, and I proved myself right in the things that I did believe. And I've always been able to elevate myself to the next level.
Moe Falah is just dropping bombs on everyone. It's awesome. So I always end the podcast with that last question. What are you most proud of? And you already answered. And it's like what you've been able to accomplish and push yourself. It's not
what I've been able to accomplish. I'm not proud of what I've accomplished. I'm proud of who I am.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't become who I was, I would never have been able to accomplish any of that stuff. It's be, right? Who I am as a being, who I am as a human being. It's be, do, have, right? Like you become the person first, which allows you to do the things that you need to do to have the things that you want to have. It's be is the first thing. It's who, not how. You could give somebody who's not ready the entire playbook, but that person is not developed enough, that person will never do it. It's who, not how.
What are the two most influential books you've ever read?
Think and Grow Rich, of course. It's just such a great book. And then The Road Less Stupid. That's helped me a ton. It's a great business book. I don't know if it's the most impactful, but it's something that I can go to at any time, pick a chapter, and then that I'm having an issue with in my business, and then be able to get an answer from it.
Yeah, I've never read that, so I wrote it down. Thank you. Last question for you before we roll. What do the next 5 years look like for you, Mo?
I'm going to exit this Medicare company. I'm going to exit this Medicare company for a 9-figure amount, and I'm going to help make a lot of fucking millionaires in the process. Like everybody that comes in, if somebody works for me for 3 years, they will become a millionaire. Like that's all I need. I need 3 years. And those who have already worked on themselves and developed themselves enough and have the character traits to become a millionaire, those people will become millionaires in 18 months. But those who haven't, it'll take 3 to 5 years. It'll take 3 to 5 years to be able, because it's personal development, right? It's not the person, it's not the things that you do, it's who you are. So it takes me time to be able to develop people.
Incredible. One last piece of advice that you could give the listeners that could change their lives forever.
Get rid of toxic people. Like who you're surrounded by is what you'll become. Like if you show me your friend group, I'll show you your future. If you show me your friend group, I'll tell you how much money's in your bank account. Like it's who you're surrounded by is the most important thing. You need to cut that shit out. It doesn't matter if they're family, if they're friends or whatever, like you can love them from a distance, but you can't continue surrounding yourself with them. Like they will hold you back. And when you're 60 years old, do you want to like look back on your life and realize that you didn't become what you were destined to become because you wanted to please Johnny? Like fuck what Johnny thinks. Like you're going to lose people. You need to be discriminatory towards who you surround yourself with. You need to discriminate. There's 8 billion people on the planet. You don't have to hang out with the 3 or 4 people that you knew from high school. Like, come on. If it means that you're going to be lonely, then so be it. But you have to make sure that you get surrounded by the right people because that will define who you become.
Well, I'm ready to go take over the world. So thanks for that one. Man, I knew this would be fun, and I hope we can get you on here in the next year or two, get caught back up, see what you're doing with the new company. Really excited. I love watching you from afar. I know we talk probably once a week, once every couple of weeks, but just saying hi and checking in. But you're a stud. You're fun to watch. And again, I appreciate your time here.
Thanks, brother. You too, Jonas.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye.